Most people spend their whole life building a portfolio the same way they pack a suitcase, just throwing shit in and hoping it all fits. I was that person, and I paid for it. In this video, I'm breaking down the 6-part investing system I wish someone had handed me at 20. We're talking about what to invest in, how to protect yourself when things go sideways, and the one habit that keeps your portfolio on track no matter what the market does. By the end, you will know exactly how to build a portfolio that survives crashes, grows over time, and doesn't require you to think about it every single day. None of this is complicated, but most people never learn it and they retire with a fraction of what they could have had. But before I get into the system, let me tell you why you should even listen to me. I'm 28, I have a portfolio worth $500,000, but here's the embarrassing part. I started investing at 18 and spent years doing it completely wrong. I wasn't following a system, I was just buying stocks I recognized. Apple because I had an iPhone, Best Buy because I shopped there, Walmart because, well, everyone's been to Walmart. You know what that strategy is called? Vibes investing, and it cost me thousands of dollars. It wasn't until I stumbled onto the actual principles behind smart portfolio construction that things started clicking. I'm slowly applying the system now, and the difference is night and day. If someone had handed me this system at 20, I probably have another $100,000 sitting in my account right now. So let me shortcut investing for you. Remember fidget spinners? For about 8 months in 2017, those things were everywhere. Some people saw the trend and went all in, quit their job, maxed out their credit cards, and imported thousands of units. For a few months, they were printing money. Then, almost overnight, it was over. The trend died and they were stuck with a warehouse full of plastic. The product wasn't a problem. Going all in with no backup was. And that's exactly what most people do with their money. They go all in on one stock, one sector, or one country. Everything is fine until it isn't. Because here's the truth, you will be wrong. Everyone is wrong sometimes. The market will surprise you. Companies you believed in will disappoint you. Whole sectors will collapse out of nowhere. So you want to make sure you're protected when you're wrong. To do this, you must spread your money across different types of investments. For example, don't just invest in stocks. Invest in bonds and real estate too. Don't just buy things in the US. Buy things internationally too. How you break that down is called your asset allocation. And getting this right is the single most important investing decision you will ever make. More important than any stock you will ever pick. This leads me to my second point. Now that you have the blueprints, let's talk about the actual materials you're going to build with. Picture 2 basketball coaches. One is constantly overcomplicating things, calling timeouts every 2 minutes, drawing up elaborate plays, subbing players in and out every chance he gets to find a perfect setup. The other coach keeps it simple. He puts his best players on the court and lets them play. 9 times out of 10, the second coach wins. Not because he's smarter, but because he stopped getting in his team's way. What if your portfolio worked the same way? You don't try to over-optimize. Instead, you just own a tiny piece of hundreds or even thousands of companies at once. Big ones and small ones. US and international companies. That's exactly what an index fund does, and it should be the engine of your whole portfolio. Not only is it low cost and tax efficient, but it also beats most active funds in the long run. Have you ever been in a situation where you needed money fast and your only option was to take whatever you could get, even if it was a bad deal? That's exactly what happens to unprepared investors when the market crashes. They need cash. Their stocks are down 30% and they have no choice but to sell right at the bottom, locking in losses they never had to take. Not because the market beat them, but because they had no cushion to fall back on. Here's how you fix it. You need a portion of your portfolio in investments that produce steady income even when the market is bleeding. Things like bonds, real estate investment trusts, and dividend-paying stocks. These won't make you rich overnight, but they do something more important. They keep you afloat when everything else is sinking. And here's where it gets really interesting. When stocks crash, these investments tend to hold their value. This means you can sell some of them and use that cash to buy stocks while they're on sale. Most people see a market crash and think the world is ending, but if you have a cushion, you'll see it as a clearance sale. Crashes aren't your enemy. Being unprepared is. Real quick, if you're getting value, make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. On November 13th, 2025, I got laid off. No warning, no heads up, just done. And honestly, I was fine. Not fine like I'm pretending everything is okay. Fine, like I sat down, looked at my finances, and realized I had years of runway in front of me. But here's the question people ask all the time. How much cushion is actually enough? That's where the rule of 7 comes in. The target is 7 years of living expenses parked in income-producing investments like bonds or high-yield savings accounts. I know, 7 years sounds fucking insane, especially if you live in New York. I'm at about 2 years right now and slowly building towards it. But don't worry, no one starts at 7. You can start with 6 months, then build to a year, then 2, and so on and so forth. It's like going to the gym. You don't walk in on day 1 and try to lift 300 pounds. Like my dad, I'm sure most of you are a bit antsy and want to play the market. I remember a time when my dad called me, super excited, buy Intel at $30, it's going to be $35, trust me. I thought it was stupid, but I ended up caving and buying it for him anyways, since it wasn't a large chunk of money. And honestly, he was right. Intel hit 35 and we sold. But here's the thing, my dad isn't wrong for thinking this way, spotting an opportunity, believing in the company, and making a calculated bet. That's not stupid. That can actually be a part of a smart portfolio. The mistake is making this your whole strategy. Once you have your index fund core and your cushion in place, you've earned the right to explore a little. Take a small slice of your portfolio, maybe 10 to 15%, and use it to try to outperform the market. Think of it like your dinner plate. You fill most of it with the real food first, but there's nothing wrong with saving a little room for dessert. Have you ever reorganized your closet and realized you never actually wear half of the stuff in there? Your portfolio does the same thing over time. Markets move, things shift. Stocks boom, and suddenly they are 80% of your portfolio when you only wanted 60%. Or a crash happens, and now your bonds are taking up way more space than they should. Most people just leave it, and slowly, without realizing it, their whole strategy drifts off course. So what do? One of the things you can do is sell the thing that went up and buy the thing that went down to get back to your original percentages. This is called rebalancing. If stocks drop and bonds go up, you can sell the bonds to buy more stocks. What you're doing is buying low and selling high. Most bad investors do the opposite. Everything I just taught you is only half the equation, because without this next piece, you could follow this entire system perfectly and still watch your portfolio go nowhere for years. I made this mistake for years and eventually found out it wasn't an investing problem, it was a logic problem. I was playing a game that was mathematically impossible to win, and nobody told me. Once I discovered what top investors like Paul Tudor Jones were actually doing differently, I realized I had it completely backwards. I break down the whole thing in this next video right here.